what I try to say all the time, and I probably sound like you when I say it, is you cannot aspire to the anomaly. Meaning, you can't expect your life necessarily to be the anomaly. I'm not saying you shouldn't. I just don't think it's beneficial. I think it's setting you up for potential failure. Just because there's only so many people that can have that existence.
So what does this have to do with pivoting? You are pivoting because you realize that dieting is not one of your big ones for Q4. Q4 is going to be wild. We have 94 days left, everyone. Let's rock and roll.
Next Level Nation, welcome back to another episode of Next Level University, where we help you level up your life, your love, your health, and your wealth. Today, for episode number 1842, how do you know when it's time to pivot? For a young man who has never quit tattooed on his arm, as you can see here if you're looking on YouTube, I quit a lot of things. And that is today's episode. Have a good one. Alan texted me and said, hey, what do you want to talk about, man? And I said, I want to talk about how pivoting, how do you know when to pivot? How do you go about pivoting? And then how do you not feel like garbage about yourself when you do pivot? And
what
Alan
was my
said,
response?
Alan was like, meh. That's what he hit me with. Meh. I see. Could be, maybe not. And he said, why do you want to do this episode? And I said, because you've heard me talk about this often on this podcast, and especially recently, I was dieting down to 165 pounds. We did our 10 pound and 10 week challenge. I went from 180 to 170. I took a week of maintenance where I just ate at maintenance. And I was around 172 or 173, something like that after that. And again, that wasn't real weight. That was just scale weight, the whole thing. And then I said, all right, I really want to push this, and I want to go down to 165 pounds. Because I know at some point I'm going to have to do a very sucky diet to get as lean as I possibly can, and that way that will be my new baseline. And I was going, and it sucked, and it was brutal.
Yeah, dieting sucks.
It's not ideal. And
Not a fan.
In New England, it's getting colder. Halloween's coming. We got Halloween candy in the house. I love me a good Kit Kat bar occasionally. Who doesn't? Reese's Pieces occasionally. Who doesn't? I'm not going to judge you if you do. It's okay. It's great. Kit Kat, ooh, baby.
Reese's right out of the freezer.
No, we don't even put them in the freezer.
The Reese's pumpkins.
Yeah.
Right.
They add up, though. They add up.
Yeah.
I am no longer...
120 per? Little tiny?
Yeah, too much. I'm no longer dieting with that goal in mind. So
Clearly.
Strong work. Strong work.
Hey, I'm not dieting either, so we're good.
I pivoted. And here's the reason why. I believe even if I continued on the thing that I was doing, even if I continued on that goal, I continued on that course, me getting the result would have been more detrimental than it would have been positive. Would it have been detrimental for my relationship? No, I think I was juggling that really, really well. I think it would have been detrimental for my mental health mostly. And one of the reasons is business is wild right now. There's so much going on. There's just a ton going on, and it's really hard to juggle the stress of that and being hungry and doing cardio. All of that stuff at the same time, I just didn't think was good for me. And I've been in a drastically better mood since I started eating enough food. Now, again, I'm not eating 1,000 calories more than I need every day. I am pivoting the goal. So it doesn't mean I'm not tracking calories. It doesn't mean I'm not weighing myself. It doesn't mean I'm not exercising. It doesn't mean I'm not getting 8 hours of sleep. That's all still happening, but the goal is different. I want to gain a half a pound a week, quarter to a half a pound a week. That's the goal. I'm on the course. The destination is just a little bit different. That's kind of what I wanted to talk about today because I know how challenging it can be to say something, especially in front of other people. The accountability that comes with that, the necessity that comes with that when you say something publicly, and then you realize, I don't know if this is actually what's best for me, and I want to pivot, but I have a lot of shame around it. How do I pivot? How do I not feel bad about it? So that's why I want to do this episode.
Plus, you're in the heat of a moment. You're feeling good. I'm going to do X. And then things change, circumstances change, context change, and then you feel trapped by what you said.
Yeah.
A past version of Kev said that. I had a little mini breakthrough. I don't know if I'd call it a breakthrough, but I'm gonna because I don't have any other word for it. You can either be 1 out of 10 outside your comfort zone in 10 things at the same time, or you can be 10 times outside your comfort zone in one thing. That's, I think, a cool understanding. Emilia and I, we broke down Q4 yesterday, and I said, I don't want to try to win at 50 things. I can't try to win at 50 things. I just can't. I want to win at a couple things where we're really going to put intentional. The plants that you water are going to grow, and the plants you don't water are going to die, and I need to be okay with that. Maybe not die, but they'll wither away slowly and haunt you in your dreams. At least me. So I said, what are the 5 things? I tried to keep it at 5 or less. What are the things that we want to win at in Q4? Number 1 was revenue, businesses. Number 2 was sleep. Number 3 was fitness. Not dieting. Fitness, which includes dieting some of the time. And when I say not dieting, by the way, it's always intuitive. So just not dieting at level 10. Fitness. So revenue, sleep, fitness, flow. I just finished The Art of Impossible yesterday. It's a book by Stephen Kotler. We interviewed him way back, and he talks about how the happiest people in the world, the most productive people in the world, the most creative people in the world design their life around flow. Flow is that state when you're feeling good. A lot of people, when they listen to their favorite song, they get into flow. That feeling. Imagine having that feeling consistently. So revenue, sleep, fitness, flow. And the last one is, hold on. Nucleus. We call it Nucleus. For us, Nucleus means we have each week we have 3 things that we are going to really put intentional effort into enjoying. And Emilia and I both work Monday through Saturday. Pretty much don't do what we do unless you want what we want. I'm just going to say that. So we work every single day, but only front-facing Monday through Saturday. The Nucleus is each week we have one thing I look forward to, we have one thing she looks forward to, and then we have one thing that we do together that's actually enjoyable. And so this week, for example, for me, it's dinner and a movie. For her, it's candlelight dinner and reading. And then we're going to go on an adventure on Sunday. So that's the Nucleus, meaning we're going to actually prioritize making sure that we have something to look forward to. There's something called an anticipatory circuit in your brain where when you have something to look forward to, today sucks a little less. Everyone knows that. I'm super pumped to go to the movies. She wants to see the Joker, the second one that's coming out. I know that's in October at some point. I'm already pumped. So my day today sucks a little less because I know we're going to be able to do that. So you got to leverage what's called the anticipatory circuit. But ultimately, that's what the Nucleus is. So revenue, sleep, fitness, flow, and Nucleus. That's it. We're going to lose at everything else, and I'm okay with that. So what does this have to do with pivoting? You are pivoting because you realize that dieting is not one of your big ones for Q4. Q4 is going to be wild. We have 94 days left, everyone. Let's rock and roll. And I'm sorry if I dropped an F-bomb in front of your children.
Technically, is today what's today?
Tomorrow.
This is Tuesday.
October 1st would be technically Q4. But.
Yeah, isn't that tomorrow? How many days are in September, son? 30?
31.
It's 31 days in September?
Yeah, I used to not know any of that. Now I've been checking and counting down days. I've come way up on my weeks, months, years, and all that.
Yeah. Usually Alan has to count on his fingers. The months, like September, October, November. I think that's fairly normal, though. All I was saying was how many days are in September.
So in Q4, you just decide I'm not going to focus on
I didn't even think about
dieting
it
because I'm going to focus on other stuff.
No, I didn't even think about it from that perspective. It wasn't even a Q4 thing. It was just it's not serving me. When I set the goal, things were different, and it's no longer serving me.
Nice.
And rather than just letting myself down over and over and over again, let me try it. Let me see what pivoting would look like. And then here's the thing. I have zero guilt around it because of this. I set the goal for me. I set the goal based on the fact that that goal is something that, number one, I wanted to achieve. Number two, I thought would be really good for me to achieve. And three, things were different when I said it.
How do you know when to push through versus when to pivot? And I wanted to say give up, but I didn't. So how do you know when to push through versus when to give up?
I think you believe it will be worth it. You know it will be worth it. You know it will be worth it. There's a difference between saying this is hard and uncomfortable and this is not good for me and unsustainable. Those are two very, very different things.
Yeah, to me it comes down to, is it constructive or destructive?
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
And the problem is everything is both. Everything is both. There's a portion that it's more destructive than constructive. Yeah,
it's more,
exactly.
yeah, I think that's the ultimate thing is, okay, cool. Imagine yourself. No, you can't. Because if you imagine yourself 3 months down the line with the goal achieved, you don't have to do any of the stuff that you're currently doing. And I don't think that would work. Because it's like, well, yeah, of course I would do it.
Imagine winning the lottery with no effort.
You just know. I think you just know. And I think you also have to figure out what is your normal pattern. Is your pattern usually tapping out long before you should? Okay, maybe you should hang in a little bit longer. Mm-hmm. Is your pattern just pushing through no matter what? It doesn't matter? Okay, maybe it would be beneficial to explore pivoting a little bit earlier. But I have a lot of experience with pushing through when it comes to fitness and dieting, and I've gotten some really bad results from that in the past. So I think my intuition and my awareness now is just more tuned to make a better decision. Next Level Nation, what is happening? If you've thought to yourself, I want to try coaching, but you don't really know where to start, group coaching would be a wonderful place for you. That's really why we created it in the first place. We start a new round every 90 days. So if you're hearing this, go to the website, nextleveluniverse.com, and we have the landing page where you can actually hold your spot right now. Even if there's a group going on right now, you can still lock your spot for the next one. The biggest thing that we've seen is as we get closer and closer to the date, unfortunately, some people end up missing. The group fills up and they can't do it, and then they end up regretting that. So please head over to the website. The link will be in the show notes, and we would love to see you there.
I think, well, every goal that you set comes with pros and cons. And every intention you set. And the higher the intention, the higher the goal, the bigger the pros and the bigger the cons. That is something that I don't think we were never really taught. I wish I could teach kids. When you set a goal, there's going to be parts of that that are awesome and then parts of that that suck. The extent of the suck is predicated on the size of the goal.
100%.
If you want to have a magnificent career, you're not going to be able to be as available for your friends. No matter what. No matter what. I think about this with pro athletes all the time. They're in professional sports, but they play every Thanksgiving. Mm-hmm. The football players, right? Whatever sport. When we're relaxing on Sunday, what are they doing?
Playing.
Getting injured. Getting hit. Getting hurt. Playing. No one thinks about that. They just think, oh, that must be awesome. They never get any Sundays. Ever. Like, take away your Sundays forever. But no one thinks about that because it just looks so cool to be a professional athlete.
Or because they value the other thing more. It's like, yeah, what? Okay, I get to play my favorite game in the world on Sunday, and I have a net worth of $50 million. Like, yeah,
it's worth it. But that's
shot.
The thing. I don't think a lot of people think of the cons. Genuinely.
Well,
you have to think of both sides of the equation.
I'm convinced now that we think. So here's the thing. I just think it's a numbers game. There are some people out there that get relatively lucky and they have a lot less cons. Not in football, sports. In sports, I feel like there's cons. Playing the same schedule.
Do you mean an example of someone who gets relatively lucky and has less cons?
Yes. Have you ever heard of 3 Days Grace?
Mm-hmm.
Their first album, they were an overnight success. Their first album was a hit. And then they just never stopped making it.
I like them.
Huge fan.
Yeah. Jams.
I
have a new playlist on Spotify called 2024 Bangers.
Uh-huh.
And not from 2024, but Alan
give us
2024 in 2024 decided these were bangers.
Yeah, what do you got?
1 sec.
You don't have any off the top of your head?
No.
No, he doesn't have
You
any.
know, I don't know music, man. You know that.
What do you mean you don't know music?
I don't know music. You know this.
3 Days Grace?
Soundboy Killer by POD. I told you about that one.
Yeah, okay. What else?
It's a jam.
Give
Shout
me
out to
a pass.
Amy because that was on her playlist.
Give me
This
a
is
pass.
a weird one. There's a band called Beartooth in between for
Oh, yeah,
some
it's-
reason.
It's a jam.
Yeah. It's a jam.
I'm pretty sure you must have gotten that from me.
I don't know. I think it was one of the playlists. Sometimes I ask SIRI to just hammer up random playlists. I'll
I
be
got
like,
some
hey,
songs.
2000 whatever, and I hear a song and I'm like, oh.
That one's a good
I'm
one.
not even into screamo. That's a little bit screamo action, but the chorus.
That to me, that's what Atreyu has some scream songs, but the lead singer, or maybe it's the other vocalist, the backup vocalist, has such a good voice where it's like I can sit through the screamo to get to his voice.
That's what that is.
I got some songs for you.
2024 bangers, send them over because I'm trying to get after it in fitness.
I
in
will.
Fitness, not in dieting.
Well,
I need to be very,
unfortunately,
very
that's
clear.
part of it, right? It's like
Nah, man.
you can be really good at flying a plane, but if you can't land that thing, it doesn't matter much. That's part of flying a plane is landing.
That's
a
what
plane.
I'm doing.
Son. What were we talking about before that? We just got on the music thing. We were talking about pivoting. We were talking about
Oh, you
stuff.
said some people.
Yes.
You were talking about 3 Days Grace.
3 Days Grace didn't tour for 15 years before anybody knew about them. Their first album was like a very big hit, and they just kind of just kept making hits forever. That is the anomaly. They're the anomaly that happened, not the expectation. They're the anomaly. Like, that's very, very, very rare. Is there something we can learn from that? Yes. I'm convinced that we're losing a little bit of sight of the odds. The odds of if you start something. So there are some people out there that are at the stage in life where they just kind of do what they want and they're wealthy and their life doesn't look that hard, but they've worked for decades and decades, or we don't know how wealthy they actually are, or we don't know where their money came from. That's just very, very statistically rare.
Mm-hmm.
So you cannot, what I try to say all the time, and I probably sound like you when I say it, is you cannot aspire to the anomaly. Meaning,
Nice.
you can't expect your life necessarily to be the anomaly. I'm not saying you shouldn't. I just don't think it's beneficial. I think it's setting you up for potential failure, just because there's only so many people that can have that existence. So
I would just say you can't aspire to be the anomaly unless you feel like you are statistically an anomaly, because I think that can be limiting for some people.
yeah, I just don't want to see anybody
Constantly
I just think
let down forever, yeah.
Yeah, it's the social media thing. I think we're living in an algorithm where only the stuff that is the shiniest, sexiest,
Most polished,
most successful, it gets shown. Some of these people you see on social media, it's like, are you a real person? Are you kidding me?
I know.
I've never seen a human like you in my entire life, and now that's all I see on social media. Where the hell did y'all come from? They've always been there. It just, that's what the algorithm promotes. It doesn't want to see me crying into my pillow at night.
Yeah.
That isn't prime time social media content. So I don't know how we get off on that, but here, this would be the quick takeaway. How do you know when it's time to pivot? When even if you did accomplish the goal, what you had to go through to accomplish the goal wouldn't be worth it. That's one thought. When it's more destructive than constructive. When you start to feel, I think that's it. When it's more destructive than constructive. But when you start to feel like the pursuit of the goal is doing more damage than good.
Yeah, agreed.
Real damage. This is not good for my mental health. It's
Goals
not
are
good for
supposed
my
to
physical
build you.
health.
They're supposed to build you through
Yes.
hardship, through challenge, of course, through adversity. But ultimately, my only takeaway to pivot here, pun intended, is don't try to crush it at 50 things simultaneously. I've been saying that a lot lately. The old me, I think, was a little less, because I'm all for holistic, but Q4, those 5 things, to really do a really good job at all 5 of those, all quarter, that's really challenging.
But that is holistic. You have health in there, you have wealth in there, and you have love in there.
It is holistic, agreed. But trying to get good at 50 things simultaneously was a mistake that I made in the past. I really did want to do everything really with excellence, and I think that as I've matured, I really feel like that's a losing game, long term anyways.
I would concur. I think you can do a lot of things excellently. You can't do everything excellently.
Yeah.
And honestly, I don't know if you can do a lot of things. I think you can do few things really, 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 really well.
Yep.
And maybe it's 5, even though a few, I think, is 3.
We talked about the very few athletes have ever been
Yes.
a professional athlete at multiple things. It's kind of like that. If you want to, the higher you climb in one thing, the more you're going to have to minimize or cater your standards in other things to accommodate that. I really have come to the humble pie of that realization.
100%. All right, if you want to simplify Q4 to be the most successful quarter of your life, join Next Level Group Coaching Round 16. It starts on October 8th at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. October 8th. I got it right this time. I thought I mixed it up. We are going to help you be more consistent, 1,000%. We will help you with clarity for sure. And one of the big things and the pieces of feedback we've been getting a lot lately is when you're surrounded by other people, you understand that you're not alone in this. Growth is lonely. If you're doing something that other people around you aren't doing, by definition, it's going to make you feel lonely. But that's exactly why we have group coaching. So you can grow with other people. And Alan, myself, and Amy included. So we'll have the link in the show notes. It is with the discount code NLU listener. It ends up being $24 per call. It is a bargain, and you're going to get your value's worth guaranteed.
We're going to get you habit tracking. We're going to get you on point. There's 94 days left in the year. Let's close the year strong. 2024. Stay ignited. Let's rock and roll.
It's wild that it's almost over.
I know. Let's rock and roll. Finish strong.
Rock and roll. Yeah, in 3 days, Grace will be making a special appearance. So won't, who was it? POD and Beartooth. Bearclaw. Bear.
Soundboy Killa.
Soundboy Killa. That's going to be the... There will be no musical performances, but... Well, there will, because I sing pretty much every time. Do I sing well? No. But I sing. And that's something. All right. As always, we love you. We appreciate you. Grateful for each and every one of you. And at NLU, we don't have fans. We have family. We will talk to you all tomorrow.
Keep after it.